Okay, so welcome back. Let's go ahead and continue onwards. We finished the first div. Well, not the first div, but we finished these two divs. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to the one right underneath it. Now here, we're going to play around with click events. So on click, something's going to happen. Well, not click events, but something similar to it, I guess. So we have, it says header 3, change email. Okay, so we scroll down and just a little bit more. So the first, oh my God. It says here, change email, and then there's a input field. Okay, so change email, and then there is an input field here. So input type, and we type in the text. And the name is name, and then we have a reference to this input field, to this input element, which is basically new mail. So that's going to be a reference to it. Down below it, immediately, we have a button. Well, it's not placed here right down below it. It's placed next to it here. We could place it down below. But anyway, it says change email. And then there's a button that you can click on that will cause certain logic to occur. The wonderful phone noise, but oh well, some things can't be eluded. Anyway, yep. So there is a button, and then it says click, and then on click, we've done some binding here. It says change mail. We're calling a method, and we're passing some sort of a parameter to that method. And the name in the button is actually change. So that's this right here. But here we're actually calling a method change mail, and then we're passing a value to it. Change mail is a method from the components. So let me just move the components down below. And change mail. Yep, there we go. So there we go. There is a method change mail here. There we go. It says there, change mail. It accepts a single parameter of type string, and then it performs, and then it changes the current user.email, and it initializes it to whatever we actually have passed to it, whatever string we have actually passed to it. So it says here new mail. So that is a reference to this input element, and we've typed in new mail dot value. Now, what are we doing here? We are pulling whatever text we have actually typed into the input field, and we're passing that text to the change mail method from appcomponent.ts. And that is exactly what's going to happen here. So you have change mail, you type something in here, tra-la-la-la-la, at something.com. Well, sometimes I manage to amaze myself. And if I click, and I can click change, but okay, nothing's gonna happen, you see? I need to call some sort of, I need to like just toggle click, and then your email is tra-la-la-la at something.com. Now, why did I need to click up here? Well, you need to go back to tutorials for that. That is basically something that the button that actually either shows your email or hides your email. The logic for it is up here somewhere. So it's in the top bar. Yep, there we go. So P hidden. So you have the logic for it here. It says toggle click. So if I click on it to hide it, I can click on it to show it. So but it does display. If I go ahead and change this to blah at blah.com, if I click on change, it's going to say blah at blah.com. In fact, here, let me just zoom this out so you can see it better. ee at rrr.com, change, and there we go. The change is enacted immediately. The reason why you didn't see it immediately is because we've implemented a function to actually hide the displaying of the email. We've implemented logic to actually hide the displaying of the email. Anyway, going back to this, let me just scroll down. So that would be this part here. where you can actually type in an email address and then change it. It doesn't need to be an email address. You can change pretty much whatever you want in this fashion, more or less. Again, we have some sort of change email logic, but this one is a little bit different. So this one is actually tied to a event on the keyboard when we actually press and release a key. So key up. So you press it and then you release it, and that's key up. That is a key that is the actual method that I've explained a moment ago. So key press. There we go. This is referring. So this we are going to use in conjunction with this method here in order to enact exactly the same changes as before, but by pressing enter on the keyboard. So everything is the same. Again, header, change email, input type text. We're creating another reference to it. See, this reference is new mail and then number 2. And then we're giving this key up. And it says key press parentheses $event. So this is something that is very unique to Angular 2. It is its way of processing these sort of events. This is not like HTML. This is something that's Angular 2 specific. Then of course we have a button that's click. We can use a button as before, but we don't actually need to use a button. We can just use the enter, and that's going to happen. So we have the method key press. Okay, so key press here, and then we're passing an event to it. It accepts a keyboard event. It checks if the event key code is 13. It stores that into a variable, but before it stores it, it needs to convert it to the input element. And then it calls the function change mail. And of course, it takes the input element value. It passes the input element value to the change mail function, and then the change mail function, well, we all know what it does. It basically changes the value of the email field. If I go ahead and enlarge this and go to the second one right here, if I type in 0000 at OOT, let's be nuts and type and think out of the norm. And if I press enter, you can see that this is actually changed. So I did not click change. Look, I'm not clicking change. I'm just pressing enter in my keyboard now, but it changes up above. So monitor what happens here when I change something down here. I can type in 3333 and I press enter, and watch this part now here. I need to be actually select. Okay, there we go. So it's 333. So it's not just a random click. You can't press enter in a random fashion and be anywhere on the site. You actually need to like click onto this field and have the cursor pointing there, this blinking one, and then press enter, and then it's going to change. Very, very simple, nothing too complex there. You just have a method which accepts a keyboard event, and based upon that keyboard event, it performs a certain logic on the HTML element. How does it know? How does this method know to actually work with this part? Is it because we have casted the input type? No, that's just something that we have to do. The reason that this function actually knows that we would like it to perform certain logic for this element input here, it's because it's been called there. So you see key press has been actually called there, so therefore it knows, okay, perform logic here for this one and not for anything else anywhere else. And down below, the final div that we're going to do, again, it's going to refer to the same method here, nothing new there, but instead of actually going through a link to your process, there is a, instead of actually, well, not a link to your process, but instead of actually passing an event in this fashion, we can just do this. So input type, and then it's a text, okay. We have our reference here that's referring to the input element, and then it says key up dot enter. So we no longer need this method down below. Immediately we have eliminated the need for this method by just typing in this basically this one line here, this one line of code. Actually 2 words and a parenthesis and 2 parentheses. So key up dot enter. When this happens, go ahead and go ahead and call change mail function and pass the inputted text to this function in order to change the value of the email. So all that this here is a shortened version of this. Now, it might be counterintuitive because like, oh wait, but Ermin, like this line is shorter than this one. Yes, but this line does not call this entire method. It has no need for it, while this line actually calls this method. So you see where the shortcut lies. It saves you the trouble of writing an entire method for a certain task when you can just type in key up dot enter. So it's going to work exactly the same. So if I just type in 1111, not clicking on change, just pressing enter, you can see that this happens. Anyway, that's it. Gonna bid you farewell, and I will see you in the follow-up tutorial.